Good afternoon and welcome. Many faces, I'll say welcome back, and glad to see you again this late afternoon, early evening, as we share in this time to meet and hear from the candidates for the next superintendent of schools here at Homer School. My name is Aaron Bowens, and I have the privilege of serving as the board president for this year and last year, and it's been a part of a journey that I didn't expect that we would have in time of doing this, of a superintendent search, but here we are, and thank you for making time to be here with us tonight in this space. As I mentioned last night, and I'll share again tonight, we have two questions that we have prepared as a board so that we can hear a little bit from the candidates. If you were here last night, it's the same two questions tonight, and if you're coming Thursday, it's the same two questions that night. I also give folks a heads up, and I had a couple people reach out to me with some questions, so I want to make sure to be clear on how I say this. There was some conversation about how are we gathering feedback from this session, and there were some ideas about some online ways to do that. And really what we need to do so that we can get the information right away to hear the impact and the feedback is find one of our school board members. So board members that are here, if you could just kind of put a hand up. When we finish up, we leave enough time so you can find one of those folks. If you have some input or feedback that you'd like to offer, it's live and in real time. And then shortly here, we're going to go to dinner after we're in this time. And at dinner, we'll spend some more time with tonight's candidate. And then once she moves along to her next thing, we will get a chance to hear your feedback. So it's not that we're not gathering feedback, it's we're doing it live and in person that way so that we can put it to use right away and not lose it over a couple of days. So with that tonight, the candidate that we have with us is Jonna Ball, and she currently serves as the Executive Director of Special Education and Grant Development at the Liverpool Central Schools. And so she's been with us all day, and I'm going to invite her to come as we get ready for our first question. So welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here.
So our first question is, why are you seeking to become the next superintendent of Homer Schools?
So I'll begin with where my journey really began with Homer, which I've shared with some of you already because I see some familiar faces from earlier in the day. But my journey really began in 2007. I lived on Cayuga Street. I was completing my grad work, and I had the opportunity to do the summer reading program at the intermediate school. So I was a student at that point in time and was really part of the community only at that point in time. I spent about 19 years living here in Homer. I have 3 sons who were born here. I lived on East River Road behind River Farm for quite some time. And I fell in love with the community at that point. It was really about the community support, the entire community involvement, that really everything that happened in Homer was a whole community experience, from the school side to opportunities in, with businesses or with events in the community. It was really centered around I call it a whole team approach, but an approach from every facet of the community. I remember when I mentioned this, when Nancy was retiring as the superintendent, I was just beginning my journey into the administrative side of things and curriculum development at that point in time, and really just always looked to Homer as where I would like to end up and where I'd like to be in a community that I would like to be part of. I love what I do. I love serving children, and I love being part of education. Having a community that's supportive in this way and provides such wonderful opportunities for students, both in the classroom and out of the classroom. So from, academics to athletics to the arts to extracurricular clubs, but then having, different resources in the community. A good friend of mine, her children were just taking a sign language course offered in the community as well. That's really what it's about for me and why I'm here. I want to be part of that. I want to spend the rest of my career giving back to a community and serving a community that believes wholeheartedly in the experience for their children. For me, again, it's not about a position or a title. It's about an opportunity to serve a community that I love. My family's background is in service work. Both of my parents serve their communities in different capacities, and I believe in that opportunity as an adult, and to be able to make sure the next generation of children have an exceptional chance of providing for their own families in the future, for the experience that they have during that K-12 experience. But I shared just in the last group, research shows that children end up within 20 miles of where they grow up, typically. So while some students take the traditional path and go to 4-year or 2-year colleges, some students are ready to enter into the workforce as soon as they graduate. And I really want to be part of making sure that all of our students have the opportunity to leave Homer High School and Homer schools in general feeling prepared to be able to live a good life, to feel personally and professionally sustained, and that they feel good about who they are and the opportunities that they can provide. It comes full circle. As I said, children usually come back to where they grew up. It's not just about the K-12 experience. If, I'm afforded the opportunity to be here, it's about the long term of when students eventually come back, it's making sure our community is sustained long term, that we have, our next generation is prepared to come back and be part of the businesses and the workforce, so that our community continues to thrive, and that our families do well here, and that eventually my long-term goal is that, I think this district is already amazing. It's again why I'm here. I'd like to continue with that excellence, and to make sure that, Homer is the place where everyone wants to be. That I want to be like Homer. I want to move to Homer because I want my children to live in that community, and I want my children to go to that school. So that's really what led me to be here today.
Thank you. Thank you for helping us to learn a little bit more about what's driving this journey for you. The second question, and you've touched on a little bit about the life of the community, but we'd love to hear from you about how would your leadership impact the school and the community?
So in terms of how my leadership would impact the school, again, I believe that we are good. I would like to become excellent. I would like us to be achieving at higher levels, providing more pathways for students to have different experiences as they go through school. I'm not sure how much each of you are familiar with the Blue Ribbon Commission, but graduation requirements will be changing over the next couple of years. Traditional graduation requirements will sunset, which means that students don't necessarily have to pass the regents in the same way that they have had, and they'll be able to show proficiency in different ways. So making sure that we are prepared as a school district to afford pathways for students and really honor, if it's pre-apprenticeship for the trades, if it's hospitality, if it's drone technology, if it's theater, whatever students are interested in doing long-term, making sure that we have those opportunities, but then making sure we have the capability as educators to understand what proficiency looks like in different ways, instead of just the traditional paper pencil. So my leadership in the school system, I am a firm believer in professional development. I'm happy to provide that professional development myself. I lead professional development frequently. My impact is also not only academically, but around the whole child. I believe in providing social emotional supports to our children and families. I think that making sure that our families have the resources they need, that our students have the resources they need to feel confident and capable, so that when they come to school, they're ready to learn. That our families feel like they have all the resources they need to be able to support their children. I think those are big, impactful things in the school setting. Again, in terms of the long-term community impact, this is my community as a result of this opportunity. My investment in our children is ultimately my investment in our community. Being present, being part of the growth of our community, making sure that I'm involved in things that can further involve our community partnerships, for example. bringing the opportunities right here within our community into the school setting as much as possible. Again, I think that the more that we pay attention to what our community needs and what our community is looking for is really important to be able to further develop opportunities for our children. So those would be some things.
Thank you again. One more piece that we're going to look at, and as you get to know us and we get to know you, and we try to figure out what this might look like, if there's a next step to that, is there just anything else you would want to share with us that you think we need to know as we're learning through this?
From a professional side, I'll say, my background began as a classroom teacher. I have a degree in psychology. I then became a classroom teacher, moved into being a building level administrator for a decade, then became a curriculum development person, and then led into special education. And now I also write grants. So in that grant development process, I've been able to sustain programming and provide professional development, but been able to also bring, most recently, a $4 million grant to my current district that provided mental health supports for students. So it's sort of a well-balanced background that I have. I'm here because I love kids. I think that's something that's really important to come across. On a personal side, and I didn't initially include this in the bio that was published that perhaps all of you have read on the website, but I'm a mother of 3 sons, 3 wonderful children. I have a lovely family and partner. We're pretty quiet. We like to camp in the summer, so that's the personal side of me. But my motivation in all that I do is I believe firmly in the opportunity that public education provides for kids, but my goal is to make sure my impact is such that it would be the same expectation I would have for my own boys. So what I would bring to the district would be what I expect from my own children. And I would love the opportunity to be part of the Homer community, to be part of working alongside each of you, and to be able to, move the district from good to excellent.
Thank you. Thank you. That's you can sit and catch your breath and all that, because we still have some more work to do tonight, but thank you. Again, thank you all for coming out tonight, and I just remind you, if there are pieces of feedback that you would like to offer to the board as we continue our work, see one of the board members before you leave tonight and get a chance to share that, and they will carry that back to the whole board. I also want to just take a few moments, and again, for those of you that were here last night, you're like, oh, we're going to do this again. Yes, we are. I just want to give you up to speed on what the process has been and what it will be moving forward, just so that we can increase the transparency of how this works. So back in the fall, Mr. Turk informed the board that he intended to retire, and then we all kind of went, okay, we weren't planning to do that, but we're going to figure that out too. And we began to see what it was that we needed to be about as a board in response to that. The hiring and supervision of a superintendent is like one of the big 2 things that a board of education is responsible for. And so we started learning, and we learned that we could get a search consultant or we could try to do this on our own. And none of us had a stomach for doing this on our own. So we said, let's get a search consultant. And we talked with Dr. Matt Cook from OCM BOCES and heard his presentation, both as a board and then as a public session. We explored that we could have worked with other search consultants as well, and we decided not to invest the district's money in a paid search consultant and use one that we already pay for through our relationship with BOCES. And so we invited Dr. Cook to guide us in this process, and that began a journey of clarifying and creating a marketing brochure about the district so that potential superintendents could see and start to learn about the district. We posted the position, and then we started getting resumes and applications in. And as a board, then we after the deadline, we gathered together, reviewed those applications, and sifted through and identified the first round of folks that we wanted to interview. And we held those interviews over 2 very long evenings, and walked through and talked through and listened and learned. From that, the board then narrowed the field down once more to a smaller group of candidates, and we did a second round of interviews. Again, over 2 long evenings, the board invested in learning a little bit more about the folks that had interest in becoming the superintendent of schools here. At the end of that couple of nights, the board sat and talked and reviewed notes and listened to Dr. Cook, who had been checking references, and we sent him out a few assignments and things like that we wanted to learn, and we narrowed down to our finalists, who last night we had our first one, and then tonight, and then on Thursday evening. For a chance to, and now they've spent all day with some focus groups being interviewed and listened to what folks have to say. Along the way, we also had other focus groups where, as we learned as a board, to hear what was important to folks from not just within the school district, but in the community, that informed the questions that we asked people in the interview sessions. So what's going to happen next is in a few minutes here, we're going to make our way to the next piece. The board is going to go to dinner with Jana and have a little more conversation, unpack the day a little bit. And then at some point, we will sit as just a board tonight and unpack and get more input from Dr. Cook about what he heard, what he experienced. He's already, I'm sure, I haven't looked on my phone, I'm sure he's already shared with us some notes from the day. And we'll conclude our evening with unpacking today and today's candidate. And then on Thursday, we'll do the similar thing. And after that, we'll start to compare, and our intent is to identify the person that we will enter into negotiations with to become the next superintendent of Homer Schools. We're hoping that that's going to be a more near-term process than long-term process. So we're hoping to not drag this on for months. We're really looking to move quicker than that. I will not give you a date because it will be wrong the moment I say it. But just know that as the board, we're working as quickly as we can, but we don't want to move so quick that we don't do our job well. So I just wanted to give you an overview of where we've been and where we're going. That when we do finalize negotiations with the person, obviously, we're going to let you know, and we're going to have a time to reveal that, and then we'll begin the process of onboarding with whoever that is. So, again, thanks for coming out. I know it was a brief time, but it's an important time for you to be able to engage with folks. So thanks, and have a safe trip home.